The apocalypse. Now. The difficult Duchess's worst nightmare has come true.
That Harry called Archie his African little baby.
Meghan Markle's worst nightmare has just begun, as UK Parliament quietly triggers a secret investigation into Archie's birth, revealing the cracks in the carefully curated narrative of the Sussex family. This isn't just another scandal, this is a constitutional crisis unfolding. It all started one evening in Westminster, where a procedural motion was logged without fanfare or media coverage. The motion, buried 3 pages in, had only one name that made the air feel heavier.
William's very matter of fact, but Katie then presses a bit more about Meghan Markle
Back
specifically.
into the fold in that sense.
Archie Harrison, Mountbatten, Windsor. What followed was a quiet but intense internal review that would shake the monarchy's foundation. The investigation was set in motion after journalist Tom Bower, during a literary event, casually claimed that the public had never been told the full truth about Archie's birth. This simple statement triggered an avalanche of speculation, with Bower's chilling assurance that he was prepared to defend his claim. Meanwhile, behind the scenes in Kensington Palace, a thick, unbranded dossier landed on Prince William's desk. It wasn't full of accusations or conclusions, but a timeline of inconsistencies, dates that didn't match, hospital references that shifted, and a birth announcement that seemed unusually vague. But what really sent shockwaves through the palace was a witness account that described a small, distinctive physical mark on Archie, something only a few close to him had seen. This revelation was enough to send William into action, demanding a quiet verification. Across the Atlantic, Meghan Markle could feel the shift. Headlines began to spiral. Tom Bower's statement reverberated through the media, and even members of the royal family were asking questions. Harry, usually vocal, remained silent for 48 hours. His absence was noted, and Meghan was left scrambling, demanding legal responses and preparing to fight back. But Bower's response was simple and devastating. Proceed as you wish. Discovery benefits truth. It was a statement that shifted the focus from gossip to documentation, from speculation to reality. Back in the UK, Parliament's review wasn't framed as a scandal, but as a constitutional clarification. The goal was simple:
becoming a new mum, and tell us a little bit about baby Sussex, as we're calling him.
to ensure the monarchy's continuity by verifying royal birth records, especially regarding Archie. The investigation, carried out by a small committee, wasn't aimed at Meghan or Harry directly, but at ensuring that the rules governing the line of succession were upheld. As the investigation progressed, discrepancies began to emerge. The Portland Hospital's announcement, the absence of confirming statements, and the lack of primary documentation surrounding Archie's birth were all noted. The palace, under Prince William's direction, moved quickly to investigate further.
Archie, who was born on May 6, 2019.
Knowing that the implications of unanswered questions could destabilise the royal family's future. And then came the bombshell. A legal notice from Meghan's legal team that she had slipped a detail. The phrase, "the woman who gave birth," left hanging in the air, became a significant moment in the unfolding drama. It wasn't an admission, but it was a fragment that raised more questions. The public narrative surrounding Archie's birth was no longer just about speculation. It became about verification, about the facts that the palace had failed to disclose in a clear, concise manner. The investigation grew more intense. The palace was forced to confront the growing storm. The Constitutional Records subgroup, tasked with reviewing documentation standards, started digging into every royal birth and compared it with Archie's. What they found was alarming. The lack of transparency regarding Archie's birth stood out, not because it was proven false, but because it was uniquely opaque. While other royal births had been accompanied by precise, verifiable timelines and statements, Archie's birth was mired in uncertainty. This wasn't a scandal, it was a systemic issue that threatened the monarchy's very foundation. As the investigation unfolded, public and media pressure mounted. Meghan Markle's world, once filled with attention and projects, began to shrink. She faced a harsh reality. Her narrative was no longer enough to hold the truth at bay. Meanwhile, Harry, who had once been defensive, now leaned into transparency. He met with the palace's representatives, providing answers to questions he had avoided for years. But what became clear was that his answers weren't driven by deception, but ignorance. He hadn't asked enough questions when it mattered. In California, the situation became increasingly difficult for Meghan. Her team was at odds over whether to cooperate with the investigation.
United Kingdom, with Prince William now winning this huge battle with his father King Charles for there to be an Act of Parliament introduced at Westminster to jettison not just Prince Andrew, Beatrice and Eugenie, but also Prince Harry.
Strange new rumor began spreading, and unlike many of the others, this one seemed capable of growing legs. Could it be that, as many have come to suspect,
But Harry, now resolute, agreed to answer all questions. His decision marked a turning point, the beginning of a new chapter, where transparency and truth became more important than maintaining control. Meghan, on the other hand, was resistant. She saw Harry's decision as a betrayal, and their relationship began to crack under the pressure of what was at stake. The tension between them grew, but Harry remained firm in his resolve. It was time to stop lying, not just to the world, but to themselves. The investigation reached its final stages. After months of mounting tension, a confidential report was produced. The report did not confirm the suspicions of a conspiracy or a hidden birth, but it acknowledged inconsistencies in the documentation surrounding Archie's birth. The lack of clear, verifiable records created a vulnerability that could not be ignored. The palace, now forced into a corner, agreed to make a public statement, acknowledging the inconsistencies and committing to reforms. It was a quiet, almost anticlimactic resolution to a crisis that had once seemed like it might tear the royal family apart. When the statement was released, it was met with a mixture of relief and disappointment. The monarchy had weathered the storm, but not without damage. The family would survive, but the foundation of trust had been shaken. Meghan, now more isolated than ever, struggled with the fallout. Her carefully managed narrative had come to an abrupt halt, replaced by a cold, institutional truth that could no longer be ignored. Harry, on the other hand, felt a sense of clarity and relief. He had chosen the truth, even at the cost of his personal life. For the monarchy, the incident was a painful but necessary recalibration. The institution had survived, but it would never be the same. Transparency became the new currency, and the idea that truth could be delayed or hidden was no longer acceptable. As for Meghan, her world became quieter, and her projects stalled. The cameras that once followed her every move began to look elsewhere. Her story was no longer the centre of attention. In the end, the monarchy had endured, not through scandal or outrage, but through quiet, meticulous verification. It wasn't the dramatic downfall that many had expected, but a slow, deliberate reckoning that reshaped the royal family. Meghan and Harry, now in California, faced a different future. The lie had stopped growing, and with that they found a new way forward. Harry wrote a letter to himself, vowing never to confuse protection with secrecy again. And so, the story of Meghan Markle, Archie's birth, and the Sussex family came to a quiet, painful end. The monarchy's legacy remained intact, but it had been irrevocably altered by the one thing it could never control: the truth.
Or just posting a lot more pictures. It has drawn a lot of attention to the controversies surrounding her kid.
Birth certificate, it shows Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor arrived May 6.